I'm not trying to be dreadfully analytic and explanatory all the time. I like to have fun as well. So this is going to be mostly a kind of fun video. I don't mind doing, quote, serious lore videos on Dune or anything else, but here we're going to have a little bit of fun with the sci-fi miniseries. So for those completely new to Dune or just modern fantasy, Dune is a classic novel made by Frank Herbert. It was given a flawed adaptation, which I really admire, by David Lynch, but I think most people would concede it has many issues and problems. It was a financial and critical disappointment and basically killed interest in Dune for a while, at least in Hollywood. But then it was revived by the SYFY Channel, a cable network, which, with an apparently highly successful miniseries that delved into not just the first book, but other books of the Dune series. I want to forewarn, I have not seen the sci-fi series as a whole. I've only seen little bits and pieces and clips. So here we're going to look at, frankly, what can only be called an insanely, well, it's a very memorable scene. I'm going to let it speak for itself because it is quite out there and it has to be seen to be believed, and I'll comment on it shortly, but it is really out there. So let's get to it.
Dispatch orders to your navigators. They are to depart our space and return the fleet to its homes immediately.
The Guild does not take your orders.
Tell them to look into the future.
Okay, so let's not be too harsh. There are a lot of good things about the sci-fi miniseries from the reviews and research I've done. A lot of people praise the performances and the costumes, and it's a very literal translation. Except for a few places, they do replicate mostly the plot of the books, even word-for-word dialogue, which they've just done, ironically. But I think you can say that it's a very, very mixed bag because this is just so laughable and so stupid and just really, really ridiculous. And I love Frank Herbert and I love his prose style, but it just shows you how context is so critical because many people who love Frank Herbert would concede sometimes passages in the Dune books are, well, it wouldn't be right to call it laughable, but just the way they talk is very peculiar and very particular, and they sound odd. Now, this is probably not the worst bit of dialogue ever. A lot of people have made fun of other scenes that are very similar. I'm not going to exclude David Lynch. I'll probably do a companion video to this. It's a very delicate thing to try to adapt Frank Herbert's words and not go too overboard and being too literal and yet not get rid of the words entirely. So it's a very delicate balancing act. I think I know what they're trying for, but it just looked terrible with that guy doing the weird force powers Star Wars imitation thing. You will obey, and just like, what are you doing? And they just look like cone heads, and you're like, what the hell is... I know people are going to say, well, it's, canonical, technically. Even so, that's the whole point of adapting. You want to pick and choose carefully what to leave out. And I think they should have really reconsidered because the acting is just so horrific. And I'm just like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm sure the sci-fi series as a whole is pretty good, but it does appear to have some just comedic gold embedded into it. So, yeah, this is pretty laughable, but I'm sure most of the series is good. But yeah, they have some moments which are really, really out there. I have no analytic commentary here. It was just funny. It's really, really funny. But hopefully some people got real joy out of it, not out of, malicious comedic joy, but like, oh, I don't know. I thought the scene was okay. Well, to each his own. Thank you for listening.